In the underworld of Los Angeles street politics, love, loyalty, and gang ties don't just clash, they turn deadly. The moment Blueface cut ties with Jaidyn Alexis to go public with Nevaeh, this wasn't just a bitter breakup anymore. It became an active, high-risk security threat. Jaidyn didn't just vent on social media. She allegedly weaponized her street ties, switching affiliations between Bloods and Crips to project dangerous leverage. The boiling point hit directly at Nevaeh's baby shower. Jaidyn pulled up to the venue, backed by her new partner and 20 Blood-affiliated members, intent on forcing an encounter. Recognizing the immediate threat of a full-scale shootout, Blueface and Whack 100 shut down the entrance, blocking the gang-backed crowd from entering. Whack 100 later confirmed the brutal truth. That crowd wasn't there for peace, and allowing them inside meant guaranteed violence. What started as personal celebrity drama officially transformed into a lethal Bloods versus Crips street war. When gang identity, jealousy, and street power dynamics collide at a baby shower, the consequences aren't theoretical, they are fatal. This is the raw, documented reality of how a personal grudge pushed LA street politics to the absolute brink. To understand how a domestic fallout transformed into an active street security alert, you have to look past the superficial highlights and analyze the structural shifts in Blueface's immediate circle. For years, the dynamic between Blueface and Jaidyn Alexis was framed around chaotic loyalty, co-parenting entanglements, and high-visibility digital feuds. But in the landscape of Los Angeles culture, personal relationships rarely exist in a vacuum. They are constantly tethered to background dynamics, security apparatuses, and street affiliations that dictate how conflicts are handled when cameras stop rolling. The structural integrity of their dynamic began to completely fracture the moment Blueface took a definitive turn toward Nevaeh. This wasn't merely a transition in his personal life. It was an abrupt cutoff of financial, social, and protection access for Jaidyn Alexis. In high-profile entertainment circles, a sudden removal of access often triggers an aggressive counterreaction. When Blueface hard-launched his relationship with Nevaeh, Jaidyn was systematically distanced from the central orbit. The reaction was immediate, calculated, and hostile. Instead of retreating, Jaidyn allegedly weaponized the narrative space. The messaging coming from her end transitioned rapidly from personal grievances to explicit, high-risk statements aimed directly at Blueface's standing. Observers and insiders close to the scene noted an immediate shift in tone. Jaidyn's public and private communications began referencing street factions, explicitly leveraging ties that extended far beyond standard commentary. This is where the situation takes a sharp, dangerous turn into the mechanics of LA gang politics. Street identity in Los Angeles operates on strict codes, historical boundaries, and unwritten laws. You do not simply pivot between factions without consequences. Yet, as the friction between Blueface and Jaidyn intensified, reports surfaced regarding Jaidyn's changing street alignments. Allegations emerged that she was actively leveraging ties to both Bloods and Crips elements, depending on the tactical advantage required at the moment. In the culture, flipping affiliations or deploying rival gang influence as leverage against a former partner is seen as an extreme provocation. Blueface, who has spent his entire career openly aligned with specific Crip sets, suddenly found his personal life intersecting with hostile, rival street energy. Jaidyn's alleged maneuvering was no longer viewed as the posturing of an upset ex. It was analyzed by observers as an intentional attempt to build an opposition front against Blueface. The rhetoric coming from Jaidyn's camp started featuring explicit warnings. Statements that industry insiders and security personnel categorized as potential direct threats to Blueface's physical safety. When an individual with deep access to your personal schedule, movement routines, and private locations begins utilizing high-level street language, the risk profile changes instantly. Security teams don't look at these declarations as internet entertainment. They analyze them as pre-operational intelligence. As the tension simmered behind closed doors, Nevaeh became a central target of the hostility. The narrative was no longer limited to two exes competing for control. It morphed into a strategic push to disrupt Blueface's new life at every vulnerable juncture. Nevaeh's growing presence meant that any retaliatory move against Blueface would also put her directly in the crosshairs. The ground was being systematically prepared for a confrontation, with Jaidyn aligning herself with forces capable of backing up the rhetoric with real-world physical pressure. The digital posturing had effectively ended. The underlying mechanics were set: an alienated former partner, shifting street loyalties, open warnings of physical confrontation, and a target whose public movements were easy to track. What the public didn't realize at the time was that this systematic buildup was heading straight toward a public venue, setting up a high-stakes standoff where the margin for error was non-existent. The calculated buildup of street rhetoric and shifting loyalties finally hit critical mass at what should have been a peaceful, private celebration, Nevaeh's baby shower. In the high-stakes world of public figures, milestone family events are meant to provide safe harbors from outside chaos. However, when gang politics and deep personal grievances intertwine, private venues turn into high-risk security zones. The atmosphere outside the venue transformed the moment Jaidyn Alexis arrived. She did not show up alone, nor did she come with a standard entourage. According to eyewitness accounts and subsequent breakdowns by industry insiders, Jaidyn pulled up to the location accompanied by her new partner and a heavy, deliberate escort of approximately 20 blood-affiliated individuals. In the culture of Los Angeles street politics, rolling 20 deep with active rival gang members to a rival-affiliated artist's private event is not a casual drop-in. It is a direct, deliberate power play. The size and composition of the crowd were calculated to command space, assert dominance, and force an immediate, high-pressure encounter. The presence of 20 blood-affiliated members at an event hosted by Blueface, who is publicly tied to rival Crip sets, instantly escalated the security posture from high alert to imminent threat. Inside the venue, the danger was immediately recognized. Blueface and his veteran manager, Wack 100, were alerted to the massive, aggressive presence gathering at the perimeter. The potential for catastrophic violence was astronomical. Had that crowd gained entry into the enclosed, crowded space of the baby shower, any minor verbal spark could have ignited a full-scale, multi-person physical altercation or worse, a deadly close-quarters shootout. Recognizing that the safety of everyone inside was compromised, Blueface and Wack 100 took immediate, definitive action. They locked down the venue doors and flatly denied entry to Jaidyn, her partner, and the entire 20-man street contingent. Wack 100, a seasoned figure who has spent decades navigating the hypervolatile intersection of hip-hop and West Coast street politics, knew precisely what was at stake. In a detailed post-incident breakdown, Wack 100 explicitly explained the operational reasoning behind the hard denial. He made it clear that his assessment of the crowd was based on cold, hard reality, not personal petty politics. Wack 100 recognized the specific gang affiliations present in the crowd outside. He understood that allowing 20 active blood members into a private gathering anchored by rival elements was a recipe for disaster. His primary objective was non-engagement and strategic containment. Wack 100 publicly emphasized that the crowd did not pull up for polite conversation or to celebrate new life. They pulled up with energy designed to provoke a reaction. By completely cutting off physical access to the building, Wack 100 effectively neutralized an active ambush setup and prevented a massive, potentially fatal confrontation on private property. Despite being turned away at the door, the optics of the standoff sent shockwaves through the community. Jaidyn's decision to bring a massive, street-heavy crew directly to Nevaeh's event proved that the boundaries between personal drama and active gang posturing had been completely erased. It demonstrated a willingness to leverage violent street power dynamics in broad daylight, setting aside basic human decency and personal safety to make a point. The baby shower standoff served as absolute proof that this was no longer a disagreement being settled through social media subtexts or indirect commentary. It was an active, real-world confrontation where physical safety hung by a thread. The refusal to allow entry did not resolve the underlying hostility. It merely contained the immediate threat for the afternoon. But outside the locked doors of that venue, the line had been definitively crossed. The incident proved that the conflict had moved far beyond personal revenge, leaving the entire situation primed for a larger, far more dangerous street-level fallout. The immediate aftermath of the baby shower standoff sent an undeniable shockwave through both the entertainment industry and the intricate web of Los Angeles street factions. When the heavy wooden doors of that venue were locked, denying entry to Jaidyn Alexis and her 20-deep, blood-affiliated entourage, the physical confrontation was successfully averted, but the psychological and cultural warfare had just been formally declared. The internet, which usually consumes Blueface's chaotic romantic life as a form of dark comedy, suddenly sobered up. The footage, the first-hand accounts, and Whack 100's chillingly calm breakdown of the tactical threat level completely shifted the public discourse. This was no longer a reality television storyline playing out on social media platforms. It was an active, volatile gang dispute being broadcast in real time. In the deeply entrenched gang culture of Southern California, the rivalry between the Bloods and the Crips is not a historical artifact or a casual aesthetic to be worn for internet clout. It is a generational conflict built on decades of bloodshed, territorial disputes, and deeply rooted codes of retaliation. Blueface's affiliation with the schoolyard Crips has never been a secret. It has been a foundational pillar of his public identity. However, the unwritten rules of street engagement usually dictate that civilian family members and domestic partners are kept out of active gang warfare. By allegedly aligning herself with Blood-affiliated members to intimidate Blueface and Nevaeh, Jaidyn completely shattered that protective barrier. She effectively weaponized the very streets that Blueface represents, flipping a domestic dispute into a heavily armed territorial dispute. What makes this specific escalation so exceptionally dangerous is the rumor mill that immediately followed the incident. Street sources and deep web hip-hop commentators began heavily dissecting the underlying motives of the 20 men who flanked Jaidyn that day. The consensus was terrifyingly uniform. An entourage of that size, carrying that specific gang affiliation, does not mobilize for a simple intimidation tactic unless there is a larger, more sinister agenda at play. Whispers of green lights, street-level bounties, and active retaliation plans began flooding the digital underground. When personal jealousy intersects with gang pride, the original reason for the conflict often gets swallowed by the street code. The men backing Jaidyn were no longer just supporting a scorned woman. They were representing their set. Being publicly denied entry by a prominent Crip affiliate and his management is perceived as a direct sign of disrespect that demands an answer. The concept of a bounty here is not a theatrical exaggeration. In gang politics, when a high-profile target is involved, financial incentives or sheer reputational elevation often drive young, aggressive members to take catastrophic action. The exposure of Jaidyn's alleged strategic maneuvering painted a picture of a woman willing to let the streets handle her personal vendetta, regardless of the collateral damage. Analysts observing the fallout noted that the situation had become a ticking time bomb. Blueface, despite his celebrity status and financial resources, was now operating under a persistent, localized threat level that required round-the-clock, heavily armed security protocols. His daily movements, his studio sessions, and his public appearances with Nevaeh were all instantly compromised by the looming shadow of retaliatory gang violence. Furthermore, the cultural implications of this standoff cannot be overstated. We are witnessing the dangerous evolution of internet beef, where digital toxicity bleeds directly into asphalt reality. Jaidyn's alleged willingness to cross the ultimate line, bringing Blood-affiliated muscle to a Crip-affiliated artist's family event, set a terrifying precedent. It signaled to the underground ecosystem that celebrity status does not provide immunity from street consequences. As the heavy dust settled on the baby shower incident, the silence that followed was far more ominous than the initial chaotic confrontation. Whack 100's decisive action may have prevented a bloody massacre that afternoon, but the underlying infrastructure of the violent conflict remains fully intact and highly pressurized. The streets of Los Angeles do not forget public disrespect, and they certainly do not forgive it. The reality of the situation is incredibly bleak and dangerous. Blueface and Nevaeh are now trapped in a high-stakes waiting game, forced to navigate an environment where their every move is monitored by hostile factions. What began as a bitter romantic breakup has completely mutated into a lethal, unpredictable gang standoff, proving once and for all that when you play with the darkest elements of street culture to settle a broken heart, nobody walks away completely unscathed from this level of warfare. Before we wrap this up, it is incredibly important to state for the record that this video was created strictly for commentary, analysis, and entertainment purposes only. The goal of this breakdown is not to invade anyone's personal life, spread malicious rumors, or pass personal judgment on the individuals involved. Public figures often find their private lives thrust into the media spotlight, and our sole intention here is to examine the publicly available reports, social media discussions, and ongoing news surrounding these events from a critical media perspective. We urge everyone in the audience to treat all the parties mentioned with respect, and to view this content through the lens of objective pop culture commentary. With that being said, The intersection of celebrity culture, personal relationships, and public drama always leaves plenty of room for discussion. And that is where you come in. We want to hear your thoughts on this entire situation. How do you feel about the way these public standoffs unfold? Do you think high-profile figures should handle their personal matters completely off social media? Or is this level of public scrutiny just part of the territory when you live your life in the spotlight? Drop your opinions, thoughts, and perspectives in the comment section below. We read through them and love seeing your different takes on these stories. If you enjoyed this detailed breakdown and want to stay updated on all the latest commentary, analysis, and news updates as they unfold, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Keep the conversation respectful in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.